The 1970s were a turning point in the history of the Amazing Spider-Man. Stories in the comics ranged from serious to silly, while the web-slinger made his live-action debut in the US, and a fever dream of a show appeared in Japan. Now, we get to enjoy the spoils. Between mainstream toy makers and innovative customizers, we're going to dive into everything that made Spider-Man in the 1970s so spectacular. Hey y'all, welcome back to Carbon Scoring, the best place for comics history and action figures. There were some cool toys released of the wall crawler during the decade of the 1970s, like Remco's motorized Spider-Man, and of course, Mego's World's Greatest Superheroes iconic action figure. But this video is looking at the stuff that wasn't made during the Me decade, but should have been. Like a custom Spider Machine GP7 from the Japanese Spider-Man program, to a 6-inch Marvel Legends figure of Nicholas Hammond's live-action wall crawler. But we're starting out with the grooviest ride of the 1970s, the Spider-Mobile. The early 1970s were pretty dark for the web spinner. Writer Jerry Conway had just introduced the Punisher and killed off Gwen Stacy. We really needed some levity. Enter the Spider-Mobile. More specifically, enter Misters Carter and Lombardo from Corona Motors, who look suspiciously like Stan Lee and Roy Thomas to me. These two pitch an idea for Spidey to advertise their new, non-polluting car engine. The wall crawler declines and swings away, but our chronically broke web spinner has second thoughts and enlists his buddy the Human Torch to help him build the Spider-Mobile. Together, they fashion a funky Dune buggy, and in Amazing Spider-Man issue 130, the Spider-Mobile makes its grand debut. The Torch shows off some of the special features he added, like a spider signal and custom web shooters. Then, the boys take her out for a spin. Just one problem. As a lifelong New Yorker, Spidey has no idea how to drive, but after sorta getting the hang of it, he and his new toy take out some jet-packed goons when all of a sudden, here comes Hammerhead. After stopping the CTE mobster, Spidey takes off in the Big Apple snow in his convertible. We next see the Spider-Mobile in Amazing Spider-Man issue 141, where he digs it out of mothballs to scour the city looking for the Jackal. While his driving has improved some, Mysterio uses a classic smokescreen, forcing Spidey to drive his car directly into the East River. While that should have been the last of it, the terrible Tinkerer fished it off the riverbed and rebuilt it as an engine of doom, using it to attack the wall crawler in Amazing Spider-Man issue 160. A groggy Spidey sees something coming from the shadows and is attacked by the remote-controlled Buggy. It's a pretty solid battle, spanning numerous pages of the book and requiring all of Spidey's agility, ingenuity, and strength to overcome the murderous mobile. Having saved the day, he finally puts the story to bed by heading over to the offices of Carter and Lombardo and leaving them an appropriate parting gift. The Spider-Mobile wasn't designed by a toy company and then inserted into comics. Actually, it was the opposite. It was meant to potentially spur a company into making it. The closest we got in the 70s was Mego's Spider Car, which does share some similarities. I have several Spider-Mobiles in my collection, including this one in my Spider-Verse display. In 2018, Hot Wheels produced this really sweet Spider-Mobile as part of their 50th anniversary line. I love how comic accurate it is with the cover of issue 130 right there on the package. You can see it has the headlights, it has the spider wheels, that great spider pattern, and of course that Dune buggy look with the engine poking out of the back. Really cool, very sweet packaging. I kind of wish I had gotten all of these. I mean, a Punisher van, Deadpool's chimichanga truck. These look really nice, but of the five, obviously I'm going to choose the Spider-Mobile as the one that I want the most. But I still want something bigger. And so in the Spider-Man and Friends line, we got this Spider-Mobile. Now, it's a little bit closer, a little bit more modern, a little bit bigger engine compartment. I do love this hook on the back that has like a retracting winch feature. Where's the button for that? Right here. So it'll zoop right back up. Very cool. There's a little hood compartment and it's got peg holes for Spidey's friends. You can put 2 people right here in the cockpit. And even though the lights don't stand up quite like the 70s, it definitely has the same vibe with the wraparound spider webs and the very choice Spidey on the front. So, gosh, this is close, but I still want something bigger. And that's where my friends at One Oak Customs come in. I found One Oak Customs on Instagram and was blown away by the quality of his 3D printing work. This Leopardon is over 6 feet tall. So when I saw that he had both a Spider-Mobile and a Spider Machine GP7 available to purchase, I jumped all over that. And now here we get our first look at the Spider Buggy, again, straight as it came to me. Again, some of the parts have not been fixed in place, and that's okay, because we're going to work on customizing each of these. It did come in separate pieces that we're going to kind of super glue together so that it stays, and we're going to, again, utilize some different kind of, markers, some pens, some paint pens, some different things to really kind of give it that extra shine so that this thing can be an absolute focal centerpiece of any display. But again, right out of the package, exactly the way that came, this thing is already display worthy. We're just going to see if we can do just a little bit more to bring out the excellent sculpt that's here. In preparing to customize this 3D printed model, I initially took apart all of the separate pieces so that I could work on them individually. I started out super gluing the main structure together. Then I went to fill in the web lines. At first, I thought I could use panel line paint to just let the liquid black flow through the crevices, but I quickly realized that the paint was seeping into the plastic, so I had to switch gears. I then manually inked in the web lines with pen, and this worked much better. It gave me very tight lines that truly brought out the sculpted detail of the model. The black paint wash did work better on the engine compartment, where it kind of soaked into the plastic and gave it that grimy engine look that I was going for. Now, it was time to hit those gray pieces with the chrome pen, which really replicates the look of polished metal. My assistant here was not as helpful as I would have liked, but she helped out a little. Finally, a couple of layers of different yellows to transform the plastic headlights into something that more closely resembles glass, and we're about done. The model is pretty perfect straight out of the box, but it's also fun to flex some creative skills and make it your own. Everything I tried to do with this was not to change it, but to enhance the incredible details that were already in the sculpt. So, let's take a look at the finished product. So here is my finished customized product. Now, this one really didn't take a ton of customizing. The biggest thing was getting the black lines in to really bring out the web pattern. I did add a couple of different layers of paint to the headlights to make them look kind of like glass. And of course, I chromed up the high beams as well as the roll bar and the front. Now, I love the beauty of the front windshield, that it can lay down and can go all the way back. I put a little bit of paint to try to bring out some of these seats. One of the nice things about these seats is they actually slide. So depending on the size of the figure, you can get it to fit in there a little bit easier. I gave a little bit of juice to the back. I used kind of that black paint to kind of wash in some of the black, as well as adding some chrome highlights to bring out some of the different aspects of the motors. The wheels were so perfect that I didn't want to screw them up, so I left them absolutely all alone. But the final product is a gorgeous 1/12 scale Spider-Mobile, and this thing clearly fits all of your Marvel Legends. I've been using a Mafex figure in here, and it captures that 70s vibe. It doesn't have that more modern look of the Spider-Man and Friends. It really gets that 70s Dune buggy look, and I think this thing has come out almost completely perfect, and I can't wait to figure out a way to get it in my 6-inch Spidey display. Enjoying this deep dive into the comics history of the action figures that we all love? Then give this video a like and subscribe to Carbon Scoring, because we're bringing this to you every week. CBS brought superheroes to primetime when mainstream TV dominated the landscape in an era before cable or streaming. The mega hits of Wonder Woman and The Incredible Hulk were joined by The Amazing Spider-Man. 13 episodes appeared between 1977 and 1979, starring Nicholas Hammond as Peter Parker. The 90-minute pilot episode garnered CBS's highest ratings of the year, but the show was never really given a chance due to high production costs and its underperforming in the lucrative adult demographic, as well as CBS's own fears of becoming known as the superhero network. The lack of known villains from the comics and the dated special effects played a role as well, but the show is fondly remembered by those of us around at the time who were starving for more adventures of the wall crawler. To say that the existence of this figure is a dream come true is a gross understatement. I never thought that we would get an actual Spider-Man 77 figure, much less one in the mainstream Marvel Legends line. And before we break the figure out and look at it, I want to give a little credit to how awesome this packaging is. I love that 70s era logo there and that really great 70s font with the 1977 on it. The packaging artwork with a Spider-Man head sculpt and almost like this rattan look on the sides just screams 1970s. And of course, we get two different images of Nicholas Hammond in the Spider-Man costume. And of course, on the back, they utilize the figure to replicate the original poster launching the TV series with the first TV movie. Such a cool feature. The figure, of course, is in a nice, clear packaging so that you can see him. Thank goodness we're back to open windowed packages. But there's something else that I want to share with you about this package, and that is when you actually take the figure out, the background in the back of the package is the movie poster. So you can use this backdrop if you want to recreate that classic movie poster. It's all right there for you. Just really great attention to detail on this incredible figure. But like I said, I didn't think this figure was ever going to happen. And so several years ago, I took matters into my own hands by creating my own custom Spider-Man 77 figure. I got this pre-sculpted off of Etsy. It was not painted, it just was 3D plastic. And then I actually documented my journey of painting this thing and bringing it to life in another video. So if you're interested in that, I'll have a link at the end. But I've always been really happy with the look of this. I thought it very much captured the eyes and the facial sculpt underneath the mask. I thought it had a super accurate spider logo on the front and back. And of course, you have the belt and the web shooter cartridge. So this figure has actually been on display in my Spider-Verse, just waiting to be replaced by the new Marvel Legend. But it still holds a really special place in my heart, and I still really love the human body proportions of this that, I might have to keep it in that display for a little while longer. But now we come to the real deal, an honest-to-goodness Marvel Legends 1977 Nicholas Hammond Spider-Man. And there are things that you just had to absolutely get right with this figure, and I feel like they nailed them. Obviously, number one is the mask. Those eyes are so distinctive, and anytime you look at it, you know instantly that is our TV Spider-Man with the silver eyepieces, the very specific shape of the black around it, and of course, the head sculpt where you really can see the nose and the chin on there. You had to get that wide spider logo just exactly right, and the belt and web shooters just had to be perfect. Now, I have no problem with the fact that this figure pretty much utilizes the body from the Japanese Spider-Man of a couple of years ago. They are essentially, I'm fairly certain they are the exact same sculpt. A lot of people complained about the almost orangish hue of the Japanese Spider-Man, and I think you can see the difference when you have them right together, that the new one is certainly much more traditionally red and blue. The spider logos are similar because they were similar on the costumes, but they are distinct and different, and there's even a little bit of subtle difference to the spiders on the back. Now, Japanese Spider-Man has his communicator that he's able to call Marvelar and Leopardon, whereas Spidey has his web shooters, but they're just really great. Unique head sculpts on both. The Japanese one really fits the shape of the actor's head that portrayed that character, whereas I think this one fits the shape of Nicholas Hammond's head. If I had any one small complaint about this figure, it's that I think the head sits just a little bit low on the body. If it were up just a tiny bit, and I may use some sticky tack in there just to kind of slightly raise the head up a little higher on the neck, but outside of that, really, really great representation. Now, it does come with a pair of fist hands and a couple of like web effects, but it came with arguably the greatest stupid effect ever, and that is this string. Yep, it is nothing more than just a piece of string, but if you were a fan of the Spider-Man TV show, you know that this is exactly what came out of Spidey's web shooters, and to actually have the foresight, even if it was kind of like sort of made in fun, to include this string rope with the figure is just absolutely brilliant. I know that Jesse Falcon, the founder, the father of Marvel Legends, was a big part of making this figure come to life. Hopefully Jesse is currently working on a Lou Ferrigno Hulk figure. That would be the next great figure in this line. But to have a 70s Spidey of our very own, mass market, easy to get, oh, it's just so freaking awesome. Hey, look, it was cool seeing Spidey on the small screen, but nothing compares to the perfect insanity of the Japanese Spider-Man series. 41 episodes were shown between 1978 and 1979, and I've actually covered the series in detail elsewhere, but the short version is: motorcycle racer Takuya Yashiro gets injected with alien blood, providing him with spider powers, while he also obtains a bracelet that shoots web lines and controls his flying ship Marvelar, which transforms into the giant mech Leopardon. But there's one more part to this: the Spider Machine GP7. Spidey's oh-so-stylish flying car came equipped with machine guns and missile launchers, and it would bond with Marvelar prior to transforming into Leopardon. Fun fact, the GP in the name referenced producer Gene Pelk, Marvel's representative in Japan, who made this show possible. Much like with the Spider-Mobile, Hot Wheels got in on the act with their own custom Spider Machine GP7. Now, this was a 2019 San Diego Comic-Con exclusive, and this packaging is so good. Look, you've got the Spider Machine here. You have a nice write-up of the 1978 Spider-Man show with cool shots. You've got Marvelar, you've got Leopardon, of course you have Spider-Man, co-branding Marvel and Hot Wheels. Really, really good looking. I am not somebody who typically keeps packaging, but this is one that I had to. And as cool as this outside packaging is, it gets even better with the vehicle itself. Look at that. We've got that great Spider-Man logo, perfect image of Spidey with the Spider Machine. And the vehicle itself looks absolutely incredible. There's even a little Spider-Man in the driver's seat. Oh, really good. The chrome accents, the like spider fangs on the front. All of this stuff looks great. And something that I wish Hot Wheels did more often, there's a window so that you can actually see through and look at it on both sides, which is particularly helpful because Spider-Man is on the bubble side, or the carded side of the bubble. So that gives you the ability to actually see him a little better. Add to that this incredible packaging art with Leopardon and Spider-Man, and that is a total winner. So that's our modern look at the Spider Machine GP7. But you have to realize that Japan is a toy culture, and when you have a hit like they had with the 1978 Spider-Man show, they are going to make product. And so this is a vintage Spider Machine. You can see the GP7 right there. It's got the 4 exhaust, the all of the design details, the spider on the front. This one does a really nice job with kind of looking at the windshield like spider eyes. And of course, it's got firing projectiles that I believe come out of the front of this. A little bit more simple packaging, but man, I wish I had these others. I don't know what they're from. Maybe somebody in the comments could tell me, but really cool. Plus, it looks like this has a wind-up feature that if you pull it back, it'll actually take off. But Spider Machine GP7, straight out of Japan. Really cool how we're seeing that. But that's actually not the best version of this, because in more recent times, Bandai in their Soul of Chogun line gave us this gorgeous metal, die-cast metal Leopardon. This thing has got some serious heft to it. I mean, these are all metal pieces, and because it's so big, it actually came with its own stand. And the cool part about the stand is, yes, there's a little spot where Spider-Man can stand. There's the two places where Leopardon's feet sit. But if you slide this out, yep, hidden on the inside is a Spider Machine. Ooh, so cool. Great proportions. Everything that you're looking for in that model. So there are several different versions, all at a smaller scale, but let's pull out the big boy and see what we've got. So here's the Spider Machine GP7 straight out of the box, and you can see the level of skill and care that went into designing and printing this 3D model. All of the little details are included. I love the jet rockets back here. This particular translucent blue plastic for the windshield is especially gorgeous. Now, I'm going to glue the parts in. The dash fits in, the seats fit in. There's even an engine compartment that has detailing inside. I had no idea about that when I got it. That was a total surprise to me. Love how everything comes together. That is a really tightly done front. And even on the wheels, you've got the white Spider Machine GP7. This thing is perfect right out of the box, but we're gonna mess with it. We're gonna give it a little bit of customizing, maybe try to bring out some of the highlights of the sculpting, maybe add a little bit of stickers, kind of really take it from perfect to double plus perfect. So let's see what we can do with this thing. For the GP7, all it really needed was some paint to bring out the details. Here you can see I'm adding chrome to the wheels. As I said, this thing was basically perfect right out of the box, but for such a unique addition to my collection, I really wanted to take it to the next level. Not everyone may agree with the changes that I made, so let's see how I did. So here it is, the finished product, and I have to say, I'm actually really happy with how this turned out. I took way more chances with customizing this one than I did the Spider-Mobile. Really kind of got into the paint work on it, really added way more detail on this one. And it was dangerous because obviously you're gonna have some paint spill and had to go back and redo some areas, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. I felt like the red of the original model was just a little bit too flat, just a little bit too plasticky looking. And so I went back over the red with a metallic red, but then that turned out to be way too orange. And so I went back another time with a second layer of red paint. And I think it really brings out the metallic look way better on this. Of course, there are so many chrome details, like with the exhaust, with the hubcaps, and up here with the rocket engines on both sides. You can see we were able to add some chrome paint there, as well as to the dash. I've got a lot of chrome detailing and even some specific paint apps into the dash, including like on the board there. The seats have some subtle chrome line work, but arguably the most important thing that I did was I created custom stickers and had them printed out on sticker paper to get those classic Spider Machine GP7 logos and the spider on the front. The spider on the front, you can see a little bit of kind of the frosting of the sticker, but it does make the logo stand out really well. And it's such a key component to the look of the car that I just felt like it would have been completely empty without it. Did a lot of detailing on the back, where I used some of that ink wash to kind of bring out some of the design work of the engine, and of course gave the rocket engines a little bit of that metallic red as well. Overall, just really super pleased with how incredible the GP7 turns out. You know, it still has its opening hood, of course that great translucent blue cockpit, and it does perfectly fit your 6-inch Marvel Legends Japanese Spider-Man figure. This thing is going to go in a place of pride as well. In my display, I'm thinking about setting an entire Japanese Spider-Man display up in order to really take advantage of how good this thing looks. But you can see, it's a big boy, but man, when you got all the work done, it was totally worth it. What'd you guys think of this trip back through time to the 1970s? Let me know in the comments, and be sure to give the video a like if you enjoyed it. And as always, for the best in comics history and action figures, subscribe to Carbon Scoring.